All right, being 4:30, we'll call Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Need any changes to the agenda?
Would approve the agenda if I can see it.
Jesus.
I saw Johnny's.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need to approve the April 27th, 2021 minutes.
I'll move we approve the April 27th, 2021 minutes as presented.
Second. Made in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Presentation on Wapaka County Marketing Co-op. Dave Thiel, Bill Zeiner.
Sure, I'll take the opportunity to kick that one off. So at the last meeting, we kind of talked about the Wapaka County Marketing Co-op and the contribution that the city has been involved in the past. We were lucky enough to get Bill Zeinert and Dave Thiel here. Can I talk about the Wapaka County Marketing Co-ops? We have several new aldermen here, so they've never seen or have heard anything about the co-op. So if you guys want to come around for mics, that'd be better so we can pick you guys up. But I've got the presentation here that they're going to go through, kind of educate, especially the new committee members of what the county co-op is all about. And
Sure.
I'll take it
Thanks. Thanks, Chad. So basically, we have updated this, but it contains mainly the slides that we used last time. So I knew there was going to be some new people. And so we want to kind of go do an overview. I won't go into a lot of detail. We're going to try to keep it somewhat high level as we start, but we can certainly drill down into anything that we're presenting today. I'm under a bit of a crunch, but Bill isn't. So if this goes a little bit longer, he's certainly going to stick around. So go ahead, Chad. So the corporation really through this program, through the marketing program, this is kind of what we're giving you value wise for investing in this program. So the tourism and visitor awareness program, that's been with us since we started this back in 2012. We started moving towards resident worker recruitment. I'll say within the last 2 years, really started concentrating on it in this budget this year. And then we're adding the strategic planning and data support just because we realized that the data that we gathered under the resident and worker recruitment area is really could be very valuable to the municipalities to use to do strategic planning. Go ahead. So under the 2021 focus here, we're still doing our tourism outreach locally, Fox Cities area, and then the remotes, which is basically Chicago, Madison, Milwaukee. Those are the markets that Bill puts the videos into and advertises, focuses those videos in there. We can go into more detail how that's done, but then initiate the coordinated resident recruitment strategy. So we're using the same company, Claritas, only we're doing analysis on our people as opposed to doing analysis on the people that visit here, which is what we did originally for the tourism focus. And so then we have a number of target recruitment outreaches that we're trying to do under this. And you can see those three: commuter, statewide, and urban flight. And then the last thing, again, provide quantitative resident data to help with strategic planning. Go ahead. So this is a little historical slide of this project. Back in 2012, wrote a grant to the Department of Tourism, basically through meetings that we were having with a lot of downtown businesses, asking what can we do to help, get more business into the downtown areas, et cetera. We decided to focus that on tourism. So it was all research that first year, and Bill's firm had the contract to do that. And so they were doing a lot of interviews and just finding out what was going on, basically. The second year, and it was, again, a 3-year grant from the Department of Tourism. So the second year is when we launched, and we did so with a website at that time. That was the going thing, and a couple of promotions. And then by year 4, we decided to start fooling around with some video. And that turned out to be really where we ended up. That turned out to be the most successful thing that we were doing. And that's where we went from that point on. And you can see the amount of views and impressions continue to go up and up and up. And so that's where we've concentrated our outreach on, is really on the social media side, basically Facebook and YouTube. And so now go ahead, Chad. We're moving into 2021. This was the slide that we basically used to explain visually what we're trying to do here. So really the tourism provides the general awareness and gets people to come here, and then we want them to start to get into the community a little bit deeper, and then eventually hopefully get some of them to move here and work here. And so that's what the economic development side is. Go ahead, Chad. So under tourism and visitor awareness, next slide, please. Again, I mentioned Claritas before. I'm just gonna let Bill give a real brief description on this stuff.
Right. So you've probably heard me talk about this in the past, but if you haven't, I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version. I literally have a 2-hour presentation on what this all is. Happy to give it to you at any time. But it's fairly detailed, other than to say that everything you do in this world, in this digital landscape in which we live, is tracked. The credit cards that you use, how you finance your car, the life insurance you choose, every decision that you make online is tracked. Claritas, among other companies, aggregates all these data. They partner with grocery store chains and Equifax and every data source that you can really point a finger at, and they bring it together and they run a series of algorithms, and what they see are patterns in the noise. And what they are able to do is, based on your address, they're able to give us a very detailed dossier on what that household is likely to do in the form of media consumption, lifestyle choices, housing preferences, their likelihood to be married and have children. Basically, it's a highly predictive index on your life, or the life of the people in the household, not necessarily individual person, but an address. They've been around for years and years, and we've used them for the last 10 years. As Dave said, initially we profiled visitors, who likes to come here and what can we learn. For this project, we reoriented that and looked at who are the people here. And if we understand the patterns of people who love Waupaca County, who love our area, we can find more of them outside of the area and help to recruit residents and workers. This is not an overnight process. This is not like buying gum or a pair of shoes, right? But we do know that our market share can never exceed our market awareness. People need to know that we're here and what we have to offer. And some of those people, frankly, live in our own town, right? Like, it's not always about externalities, but our Claritas gives us the ability to finely tune our media strategies and take a little bit of money and make a big impact.
Go ahead, Chad. So basically, this is the slide that Bill just got done talking about. So understanding what Claritas does for us, for visitors and residents. And so go ahead, Chad, you can move to the next one. And again, same thing. It breaks it down into these different names that they come up with for describing those households. And again, there's a lot of detail behind that. We can always do that again if you're interested in all this stuff, but you can move to the next one. Again, an example of the segmenting that they do. I'm not sure if this was specific to us. I think
This is specific to us.
Okay.
These are visitors. So about 10 years ago, we aggregated data from hotels, motels, and RV parks in Waupaca County, those that could share addresses of people who had stayed, their home addresses, that is, right? So totally anonymous, but yet it gave us a great snapshot of who was coming to the county. And we ran that data through a Claritas append. We get back a report like you see here. Two parts of it. One is the segment name. And like Dave said, there are 64 segments. They gave each one so these kind of telling names, like country casuals or simple shotguns and pickups are one that does quite well in Waupaca County. You might not be surprised to find out. And then the index number. Whenever you see an index number in one of these presentations, an index of 100 means that that household is no more or no less likely to pursue a specific behavior. It's average. When you see an index of 200, 300, 400, or in this case, 500, what we see is they are essentially a Blue Highways home is 5 times more likely to visit Wapaka County than the average home in Wisconsin or the United States. So that allows us to really focus on those people who might be best candidates for, in this case, tourism. This was early on in the project. And currently we did the same thing, but for residents. So we're able to better understand who likes to make their home here and how can we tell more people about it.
Go ahead, Chad. So again, a snapshot overview of what we've done over the years, and you can see not a big budget that we're working with. So again, the state of Wisconsin committed that amount of money for 3 years. And at that point, I got the county to kind of pick up the slack for the state. And there was something called the Wapaka County Visitors and Promotion Council. It was basically 3 of the chambers, the 3 larger chambers in the county at the time. So they helped us get it off the ground. And then the village and cities basically contribute a per amount per resident, if you will. I believe New London was at $3,000, I believe. So we had business participation significant, and it's been dropping off. Oddly enough, the businesses have not understood necessarily. Some of them have. Some of the larger tourism businesses every year say, yeah, here's my 300. I mean, we're charging people $300 a year to place their video in markets, targeted marketing. And a lot of businesses, we've got videos created sitting on the sidelines. They don't want to invest that $300. It's kind of unusual, but that's what's happened over the years. So that was the latest in 2020, and it'll be approximately the same in 2021. Go ahead, Chad. Here's the current active New London Co-op videos. John's been with us since the beginning. He was actually, I think, the first video we ever did. And Shamrock and Wolf River Trips and Sleepy Creek, all of those have stayed with us. The Wolf River Historical Marker, the Historical Village, the Nature Center, those were done as we moved into later years, and we decided we were going to start making videos that the municipalities wanted us to make to basically promote the area. So those were never, we don't charge those, the village or the nature center. Those are not being charged to any business. Obviously, that's just part of the city's package, if you will, that we run those. And then First State Bank has been a sponsor, as you know, over the years for this for quite a time. And so we just created a couple of videos for them to make sure that they get out there. But there's probably, I don't know, another 6 New London area videos, maybe more, sitting on the sidelines that people have decided not to use anymore. So we have them, they're ours, and they could jump back in at $300 a year if they wanted to. Go ahead, Chad. So now we're turning to what we're concentrating on a little more this year. So go ahead, Chad, next slide. And again, back to this. Now what we did with this time is we used a database that we got from the county. So essentially it was the property database. So people that are residents here that own property. I think that's.
Yeah, I think it's on the.
Go ahead, Chad. There it is. So
right, there's almost over 40,000 properties in the county, not all of which are single family homes. So then we had to go out and strip out all the apartment complexes and empty lots and parking lots, and I mean anything that would have a tax bill essentially. But we really need to, for our purposes of research, they really need to be single family dwellings in order for the research to match up. So when that was all said and done, we analyzed 25,193 properties in Wapaka County.
Go ahead, Chad.
So Out of that, again, we look for patterns because patterns we can leverage. What's the signal within the noise? And what we found is that there were very clear patterns as to who makes their home in Wapaka County. And I don't think you probably needed a total data analysis to point to some of the things that people like to do here. We're seeing a strong interest. The top two, they're Country Strong and Big Sky Families. These are what they sound like. Big Sky Families are the proverbial, 2.5 kids, 2 4-wheelers, a boat. They want to live on an acre and a half, drive that way, about half a mile, and you'll start to see what that looks like, or frankly, that way, mile and a half, and you'll start to see what that looks like. And essentially what we're able to do is come up with a fairly actionable target of people who would be great residents for Wapaka County or any of the municipalities. And there's a couple of slides that are dedicated to this. I'm going to try to sum it up here. But essentially what we found is that by the time you are rated a Country Strong or a Big Sky Family, you've already put down roots. So now if you are that proverbial family with a mom and a dad, 2.5 kids, dog, whatever, what is it going to take you to move from where you are to Wapaka County? And the answer to that is we don't know for sure, but probably something pretty big, some major life change, right? And we didn't feel like that was enough for us to start investing time and resources to recruit the one-off unicorn who's having a major life change. So what we did is we went back to Claritas and we connected with them and said, tell us of the 64 that you have, we know that our number one is Country Strong. Fantastic. Before somebody's a Country Strong, what would they be classified as? And if you go to the next slide here, pop through all these, there's about 3 or 4 how we got to our ones we're focusing on. One more, there we go. So we did that analysis, found out our top clusters, who would they be? And we found out that they had roots. So who were they before they became that? Before they got married and had kids, what did they look like essentially? And what they pointed back to are 2 general areas. They call them striving singles and young achievers. So what we did then is we went and looked at the entire state of Wisconsin and said, where is the highest concentration by zip code of striving singles and young achievers? And when you do that math, it turns out that there are 8 zip codes in the state of Wisconsin. And actually go to the next slide here. That's part of them. We'll see them more, but essentially what we're able to do is go into those unique zip codes and share messages about Wapaka County essentially on social media, video-based content that helps make the case to visit and then learn more about Wapaka County or an individual city. So Wapaka, for example, they've partnered with the chamber, the school district, and the municipality. They created a set of videos that showcases their chain to main concept, if you've bumped into that. And then those are shown specifically in those 8 zip codes as an attempt to certainly, if you go back to the rings on the tree, that kind of, we showed that, where yes, most likely we're going to get you to come as a visitor first, but then we want to continue to educate you over time so that as you are putting down roots, maybe you would consider Wapaka County as that destination. Or if you're looking to switch employers, for instance, and you're an employer and you're trying to recruit somebody in from out of the area, again, you can point them towards these resources and help make the case for Wapaka County.
So we've diverted some of our baseline digital buy per month, and you can see that number there. And then we basically layer this thing so that municipalities can opt in to do incremental investments to basically focus on their communities to try to do what we're trying to do here, which is to attract people into your area. And so Wapaka is doing this. They've decided to do this. Then it's a combination of the school district and the chamber and the city. And hopefully we're going to get a couple of the bigger businesses on board too, to also do this. I mean, the Foundry has videos with us already that we are advertising, but we think that combining that with what the city is doing and targeting that with them just provides that extra amount of information to help them sell their message of this is a great place to work in a great community kind of thing. Go ahead. All right, well, so we basically talked about this. We're moving away from subsidizing the placement of the individual business videos. Again, they're paying $300 a year for their individual videos. We know that that was ultimately subsidized by the municipalities that were contributing and the county contributing the money to make this program run. So we want to refocus that on municipal content. And we started doing that a few years back, as I mentioned before, when we started creating videos specifically to show the assets of the municipalities and the county. And so now we're really just taking another step towards moving in that direction, focusing our spending on things that are important. I mean, tourism is important, but we're moving obviously to the area where we need more people to move here. We need more people to work here. And so that's where we're concentrating starting this year on shifting some of those dollars. These are these the areas that you're
Those
talking about?
those are the 8 zip codes. Right now, I have larger metropolitan areas circled. We actually go into a specific set of zip codes right now, and 2, 4, 6, 7. There's my 8th
There might
one
be
is,
one under, you can't
is,
see
uh,
it,
is,
yeah.
is slipped away there. But those 8 represent our best opportunity to reach those precursor folks, the ones that we believe we can educate about our county and our specific municipalities, what we have to offer. Now, what this also does is allows us to make a bit of a splash in that market for a little bit of money. I don't know if you saw one of the slides, it's about $1,100 a month that gets allocated towards this. If you've spent any kind of money on advertising, even locally, $1,100 does not go very far. So by essentially, instead of boiling an ocean, we take very granular target approach, and we're able to get reasonable amounts of reach and frequency within that zip code, where if we were trying to do a larger area, we simply would get lost in the shuffle. So that the analysis of the data is crucial, because not only does it allow us to talk to the right people, it allows us to do it on a budget that is applicable in our world. We went to a conference, this is a couple of years ago already, and the Door County Chamber was there, and Door County Chamber spends as much on drive time radio in Madison in a month, was it, that we spend in an entire year.
I
Here.
believe it.
So, we just don't have the luxury of a lot of money, and never will. So we needed to find a better, smarter way to invest these dollars, and we think we have it.
And so this infrastructure is in place, and that's what basically what PAC is doing now, is building on what we've already created. And they're just adding dollars to that to focus the videos that they created in-house into those target market areas, boosting the amount of spending that we are doing in those areas.
Exactly right.
So this is just to talk about our focus. The quick and easy focus for us would be to target the people that already work here. So, to geo-target some of our large employers in our municipalities, the people that are working here, but are living in the Fox Valley or living, a little farther outside of that area, but working here. They have an understanding of Waupaca County already. It'd be quite easy for us really to get our information in front of them.
Right. And what at least our experience is that sometimes people forget all the great things that are here. And it's easy when you're in the break room to, complain about whatever challenges, and every city has different challenges, right? And that can become the main topic of discussion. And our hope is with opportunities like this is we can maybe interrupt that a little bit and have a counter narrative that says, there are some really amazing resources here. Maybe how's it go? Familiarity breeds contempt. And I think there's some of that people don't always appreciate what they have here. And our hope is that we can do that with some of the videos here by targeting workers who are leaving the county and convince them maybe stay, or at least consider it.
Go ahead, Chad. And then the last one, really, during the pandemic, obviously, there was a lot of discussion about people in the metro areas wanting to get out and relocate into less crowded areas of the country. That seems to still be holding true. But of course, you obviously need to have some very good broadband in order to attract people. That will never happen. Excuse me. People can work from home anywhere. Lots of people can. So, I mean, we were already kind of targeting the Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison area with our tourism stuff. So it's not a big leap to start to place more information in those areas about our communities and our county, stuff that is related to other aspects of life here. And finally, this is the one that that we discovered really makes some sense. So we have all this data that basically talks about what people who live here are interested in. So it makes some sense here for when you're doing some strategic planning at the local level to use this data to, possibly set policy. So, somebody comes in with a subdivision proposal and you really want to know, does that housing make sense in your area? Is that what people are interested in? And you have the data now to back that, at least that up a little bit. I saw earlier the second grocery store, does the data support a second grocery store? We have access to that data that shows you what the amount of money that's being spent in the area on groceries and any business for that matter. So that kind of stuff, or any kind of policy stuff that you can think of in any of those markets where you want to try to meet what you perceive to be anyways the lifestyle or the demands of the people that are living currently in your area.
Why don't you jump to the next slide? There's for every zip code we can provide, this is the most top level data that we have. It's a quick infographic type read, but is an example of some of the things that we can bring together for that. And with the data that we've licensed, you can point to any zip code in the state of Wisconsin, and we can give you this kind of detailed breakdown. So this is for 54961. So, and again, when we look at zip code, what we think of as New London, in the city of New London, we have interesting, not barriers, but scopes of reference. So the school district is one geography. The city is another geography, right? The townships rub up against, but they're another geography. And sometimes you don't get the entire picture with one zip code, but we can pull multiple. It's not a problem. And in the end, what you have is an objective set of quantitative data pieces. So when you need to make decisions or inform decisions, it certainly has to be the judgment of locally elected officials. It's sometimes also nice to have some objective data to point to as well, especially if some of those decisions are high profile. People are going to have questions, and we can provide you with data to support your answers.
And the last slide just is a breakdown of the budget for this year. So the amount of money that we're spending out on tourism and resident recruitment, our media budget, and then for Bill's analysis at the municipal and for the Claritas stuff, and then for managing all of this stuff day to day. So again, excuse me, we're doing this on a very, very small budget, and we have for years. We did that really quick. It was a half hour. We know, we blew through that really fast. Yes, sir.
The state screwed things up when we put the wheel tax in, because they went by zip code 54961 and said there's approximately X amount of vehicles registered. Well, they didn't take the ones out in Muckwa, Lebanon, Hortonia, et cetera, How does your calculation take out those towns outside of the city limits?
Oh, it's a great question. So what we're able to do is each one of those townships then, what, you know, the township is the square, right? But then what we are, the one way we are limited is by zip code. So what we will do, and we did a little bit of this for New London, what was it, 6 months ago or so, where we are able to take not only the central zip code, right, the municipal zip code, but then bolt on data from those contiguous zip codes, if you will. It's not perfect from that standpoint, right? But it's fairly good and enlightens some of the key differences. So, like, for example, if you look at 54961 and the types of households that you have here, compared to the rest of the county, what you'll find is that New London has a unique profile for individual single-family homes. Very, very, very different than the rest of the county and even the townships. Most of Wapaka has acre lots, some version of that. Well, to your point, if you walk into the townships and look even a little bit, you'll see that that's where all of that is. It's all around New London. And then inside New London, you have a denser, more urban area, if you will, a rural urban area with, you know, smaller yards, usually smaller incomes, a little slower property values, but lots more of them. And so you have a stark difference, but all of those people are consuming resources that the city provides, right? So it's not enough of a picture just to look at 54961. You have to look at those comparative pieces of data. So can I get you 100% virtual? Probably not. Can I get you a really good number that'll help inform decisions? Then yes.
What's a real good number?
So what I would tell you is that each of those zip codes that fall within like a municipality or a township, for instance, you might have 3 or 4 zip codes, and those zip codes don't end at the town border, right? The federal government draws them wherever they want. And so whenever we add up all the zip codes within a township, the reality is we get all the township plus a little bit of carryover as we get in, you know, that zip code goes over the township line and into the next township. So I can't give you, like I said, I think the number is probably like 80% of everybody that's in that township. I can break it down by individual zip code, but when you aggregate zip codes together and say, okay, these 4 equal a township, that's where I can't say that 100%. There's overlap.
I think we would be arguing that you are basically the hub for everything that's around here. So, you know, the more that things grow even around the city, I would argue that the city is better off for it. Now, I know there's going to be some dispute because the townships don't commit dollars to a lot of the services that the city provides, and the residents have to pick up that cost. And obviously,
They live off the county.
what's that?
They live off the county.
Yeah, you know, there's nothing that you can do about it at this point. I mean, that's the way things are set up. But I think when you look from an economic standpoint, I would think you would be considering that you basically are the ones that are supplying this area with the goods and services that it's using in this area. You know.
And to that point, I mean, you're not looking at, you're looking at drawing bodies to this area because our businesses need bodies, a workforce. So yeah, there's going to be a percentage that does come into the city. There's going to be a percentage that does live outside the city limits. But I mean, that's the whole point of bringing this recruitment to our area, and we feed off all that. So
Yeah, the businesses are essentially in the city. That's really where they are. And you know, to your detriment, the people that want to come here probably and build houses or live here, they want to live in the townships. They want to build big houses in the townships on an acre or 2. But they're going to work here. A lot of them, they're going to come here certainly for a lot of their life and to do lifestyle things here. They're going to go to the school district, use the school district. They're going to use the banks, etc. So that's kind of the trade-off of what you're doing when you're trying to attract.
don't you think there's the attraction for those younger millennials or those first-time home buyers. They're going to be coming into the city, whether it's an apartment living or, first-time home buyers. They're not going to buy those 1 acre lots that have those big houses. They're going to
No.
start in the city. So
Yeah,
on the recruitment side,
I would argue that the feeder things that Bill's talking about, those are the
Right, that's exactly what we're talking about, because the
Yeah.
average college grad, having just had one move home, doesn't really have the resources to do much of anything for home wise, right? However, a reasonable apartment or a small, an 800 square foot home, 1,000 square foot home in the city, very common. To that established family, not big enough, to that young up and comer that I forget, they call them the striving singles. That's right in that wheelhouse. And if that's where you are financially and you love to hunt or fish, or you love nature and you want a good job, you're going to love Waupaca County and you're going to love New London. We just need to get that message out to the right people at the right stage in their life. And I grant you, it's not easy. But as Dave has been talking about for the last 15 years, we have this huge population dearth in Waupaca County that we're just getting into the edge of. And we're seeing that even before the pandemic and all those things. Recruitment of qualified workers was tough. Now it's pert near impossible. Basically for my clients, if someone will show up regularly, can do simple math and pass a drug test, they can have a job. And sometimes they'll let one of those go of the three. So it's a real opportunity for us to tell our story in a way that we couldn't afford to do 10 years ago. And we
Yeah.
can make work now.
I would argue that if we don't do this we're never going to compete, because it's really not going to get any easier. Just got a call from Huffmaster. They've got 30, they called the state. They've got 30 positions in Clintonville. They got to fill. They got 100 positions in their facilities in the Fox Valley. They want what they're panicked. What are we going to do? Well, we don't have an answer for them, and there isn't anything they're going to do other than they could try to do some of this stuff to get themselves out there and long-term keep putting themselves out there. But it's taking a while for everybody to get to understand that the boomers are done. That period of demographics is over and gone, and we're not going to have that anymore. We're going to go to now years and years and years and years of shortages of workers.
You keep talking about you're putting out videos to attract people to town. Is there a place that we can access those videos so we can see what you're putting together?
Sure.
Oh yeah, there's a YouTube channel out there for Visit Waupaca County. And that really has become the hub of everything that we do. We found that over the years, we've tried other platforms, but that YouTube platform, one, it continues to be free. And the reach that it has works well for us. The other big platform that we invest in is Facebook. Those two right now are the ones that we feel like we can handle. As we need to get younger, we move to Instagram, and then heaven help us, we are now moving into TikTok and getting more acquainted with that. So yeah, at 50 years old, I did not think I would have to master TikTok, but my career path has taken me to a very strange place. However, if you go to a manufacturing facility and you have a workforce that is under the age of 25, and you go to the break room, they are on their phones, they are on Instagram, they are on TikTok, they are on Snapchat, that this is their chosen way to communicate. It's not my cup of tea. However, right, well, you got to go where the fish are. And that's where they are. So we've had to evolve the program over the last 10 years, and we're gonna have to continue to evolve it to be relevant to these young people.
and then just to brainstorm, or I guess to piggyback off of that, I mean, we all know that we have our own talent in-house for creating the content and creating the videos right now. So,
And you have done that in the past.
yep.
I know you have a number of those videos that you created in the past that you were advertising basically through this program, or at least using this infrastructure. You were going directly to Bill's firm, but you were doing that already. And I know you have your own really talented person, you know.
Casey's Zempel's working on
Yeah.
that, but you know, it's really intriguing that Casey and I, we haven't had the opportunity to do it yet, but to piggyback off of the Claritas information that they give us and then creating our own content videos based on those segments in
Yes,
those markets. So even though we're creating our own videos, we can use this information to help us guide us.
100%. Yes.
What we're doing. So I guess that's what our take on, and we haven't done it yet. We haven't had the opportunity, haven't had time to really look at that yet, but
And so, and we're saying that while PAC is already going down this route of basically taking on to this infrastructure that we're creating and marketing, putting their own money into kind of marketing their stuff into the targeted areas that we've identified for them to go after. So, you know, you guys could do that easily. We're starting to get results in for them. So far, it looks fairly promising. Like they're getting a lot of traction with it.
Right. And they only invest, I think it's $500 a month-ish or
Yeah,
some version of
yeah.
that. So again, it's
The city and
fairly
the
small
school
amount of
district
money.
are splitting a $500
That's
investment.
it, right. So even that little bit of money, especially if you have your own videos, you can make an impact.
And they've got enough videos that we're basically rotating the videos, so they're not, the same content isn't out there over and over and over.
Now, was that $3,000 a month or $3,000 annually?
That's annually.
Annually for this.
That's to support this program. You know, you're one of 8 municipalities that has money in this program, along with the county, which is basically throwing 2/3 of it in there. So,
The county has committed to this already?
yeah,
And
yeah,
all the other municipalities have also
yep,
committed again?
yep.
Okay, because you said that some businesses have dropped off, so I was just wondering if.
Yeah, we over the
municipalities-
years, we've lost businesses. Just, I say, are you in, you know, it's $300 still. And they say, no, I don't think so this year. So I said, okay, we've got the video. You can join anytime you want. Creating a new video. I mean, those videos were all free. We may have given people too much and they didn't necessarily appreciate what we necessarily provided, because those were basically paid with the grant dollars. And then we kept that price super low for them to be part of it, because we were trying to basically spur business for these businesses. And again, you know, like Wolf River Trips, when I say $300, they go, yeah, my check's in the mail tomorrow. You know, when I say to some smaller business on Main Street, they go, I'm not sure I can afford that, you know. So again, they can rejoin. If we have to create new videos, that's a lot more expensive. So we haven't done that. We've concentrated, and then we stopped producing. We were producing like 2 to 3 new videos for businesses in all our municipalities for like the first 7 years or so. And then at that point, you could see that the business interest was kind of falling off. And I said, now we're going to start producing videos for the municipalities who are funding this program. And that's when we came up with the heritage site, the nature center, et cetera. And we did that all over the county for the municipalities.
cool. I know we got a bunch of other things, but does anybody else have any questions about the program? And it was a really good snapshot, especially for the new people, about what the program is and what they're doing with it. So.
Well,
Can always reach out to us through Chad, can reach out. Obviously, he's on my board, so.
Yep, we're easy to find if you have questions. Take care.
All right, thank you, guys.
we're fine, Jim. Over on Doan Drive.
That's not him.
Do we have to do anything with that or just move on? to the
Nope, not this
next one?
time. There wasn't an action item yet.
Huh?
It was not an action item. It was
Okay.
the presentation.
All right, on to number 5, we continue the discussion about the Grand Cinema Theater.
All right, so most of you recall, we had a discussion last month. Margie Brown gave us a nice history lesson of the Grand and the efforts that they did in the past. What I wanted to do is just take an update over the last month, what additional information we've gathered and what we kind of know. So number one, Margie gave me the information for, I forgot his name, Joel Furlow from Oshkosh. I reached out to him and I sent him an email originally And it was a long time, and all of a sudden I got a kickback saying it was undeliverable for some reason.
Oh,
So I called and left him a message, and we haven't connected yet. So that's where we're kind of at. There was a big gap because I was waiting for his email to come back to me. And then obviously he didn't get it for some reason. So I left him a message. We're playing phone tag, and I guess we'll go from there. Another point is that I had a gentleman, and he's on Zoom with us tonight. Paul, I'm gonna slaughter your last name. Walsher, is that how you pronounce the last name? You're on mute, Paul. So
Warshower.
there you go. Wonderful. Thank you. Paul must have saw our information
Yeah.
somewhere
I didn't know
online
what to
and
do.
then reached out to me. And Paul, I'm just going to give you a quick 30-second opportunity to talk about your business and why you reached out to us, I guess.
I love New London. I want to move there after that presentation. I've been involved in the theater since I started in Chicago 1,000 years ago, but I'm one of those guys that you like. I moved from a big city to a smaller city to a smaller city. And I believe that the arts, and especially live theater and movies, are extremely important for small towns. You're an economic development group. You know full well that it'll draw people downtown. They'll spend money. They'll buy a dinner, whatever else you need them to do. But another thing, it builds a lot of self-confidence if you have a live theater group that's doing shows, especially for kids. So my company does this. We have been involved in buying old theaters, restoring old theaters, and then partnering with municipalities and private owners to work to solve solutions and solve problems. That's the 30-second version.
Wonderful. Thank you. And, not saying that that's the route we're going to go, but at least in the back of everybody's head, that's an option for us to move forward. And I guess the third thing we've had over the last month,
Chad.
Fred, you got a question?
I think, what's this guy's name?
Paul.
Washer?
Paul, did you call me Fred Zog?
I did.
There was an article, you saw the article in the paper.
I did.
I
And I
turned your
called
number
you
over
right
to
away.
Margie to call you and.
Yeah.
So,
But
okay.
you had the right idea. You were talking exactly the way I've heard some other city council people, aldermen and so forth. There's got to be a way to work this thing so that it not only pays, but that the taxpayers are not on the line, to take a building or to take a business. So I can talk a little more later if you've got a moment. But yeah, I called you and I called Chad, and I think you've got something going. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent my time reaching out to you folks.
Awesome.
Wonderful. And again, like I said, we don't know if this is that route we're going to take with this type of partnership, but I guess these are all kind of things in the back of our head if we need to do something. And the third thing we've done in the last month, and I'll let April kind of kick it off, we did meet with the current owner of the Grand Theater in town last Friday. And I guess if you want to take it from there.
Yep. So I got a hold of Jim Billick, is the owner of the Grand Cinema Theater. We actually met him at the theater last Friday on site, and he was there doing his final walkthrough. There was some vandalism that happened at the Grand, so a service pro was there cleaning up. He was doing his final walkthrough. Jim shared with us that he does have intentions to reopen the Grand. He also shared that Hollywood takes a pretty big chunk of his profits, which makes building a team difficult. And he is still open to selling the theater. He made it very clear that he doesn't feel that the theater is his, that he owns it. It's the community's.
Mhm.
And he'd like to see it continue in one way or another. Last time he had it listed, the business and the property, it was at $575,000.
Oh, I think you asked me that question, what the price tag was on it. So 575,000 right now.
But also willing to negotiate.
So with that said, the committee really doesn't have a direction of where we're going with things. I think we just want to make sure that there's success, we retain that anchor in our downtown. It's positive to see that the owner wants to open back up, and start providing that service again. But I guess that's where we're at,
Where do we go from here?
Where do we
What
go
are
from
next
here?
Steps.
Yep. Or do we need to? I
Ideas,
mean,
right.
it's privately owned. Is it gonna be successful on its own? I don't know.
May I offer a few insights?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, the biggest question for all of you is there really a need for a movie theater in New London? Now, before you answer that, you have this amazing tool called Claritas that can probably help you answer all the questions that I would ask if I did a feasibility study. So that's the first question. Is there a real need for a movie theater? I'll tell you the answer. There's not one town I've ever been to that said, no, we don't need a movie theater. Everybody wants a movie theater. But in addition to the movie theater, can this building be used for other events? Can you do live concerts? Can you do plays? I'm telling you, children's theater is what's going to bring, and I listened very carefully to that last presentation. You want to give value added to your community. You say that you have a children's theater company, and some parents will light up because not everybody's going to be on the football team or the baseball team. But you put a 6-year-old in a play on stage and watch grandma and grandpa, kind of smile and so forth. You've got a winning combination. Some of it can be profit making too. So the mix of events is what I'm hoping that maybe between the owner and whoever gets involved will want me to participate in. We hope he does well, but he's right. A private owned movie theater in a small town, he's paying 70 or 80% of his ticket price to Hollywood. I'm telling you, the future is not bright for that kind of movie theater. And I'm just being very honest. He's seen the writing on the wall too. And you do multiple things in that building, I think you have a better outcome.
Yeah, he shared something similar, how his health is also failing him. So he'd like to see it stay open. He's just not sure how.
And he made the comment about multi-purpose as well,
Mhm.
branching out into other.
And he's open to
opportunities.
renting too. I had 2 organizations reach out to me and ask if the theater was available for rentals. And he said, absolutely. So I've connected them. So
Do you
please-
have a theater company in New London?
Yes, we do. It's 39 years old.
Excellent. Okay. So they've got their own house.
Yes, we're in a church.
Excellent. Okay. Is there a children's theater in town?
Yes, every summer.
Well, I'm talking about during the year, during school year.
Oh, just summer right now.
Okay.
So that's what we know from last month. Like Lou said, where do we go from here? Do we need to go anywhere from here?
I think it's important that this committee spreads the word of the intentions of the owner. He wants to reopen. So when it does, we have to support it if we want it to stick around.
We gotta figure out some way to raise money, like I mentioned the stock sale, one idea, but I don't want this committee to drop the ball like we did in a couple other things. I mean, gotta put our heads on and move forward. Margie's input and some of the other people in town are involved in it.
I would like to hear more, Paul, about your comment on not putting the bill for all of this on the public as we had to do last time.
Well-
Ideas.
Sure. Are you an alderman, sir, or are you a city councilman?
You talking to me?
No, the gentleman who answered, I can't see him.
Oh, I'm an alderman.
Alderman. The alderman had the best example that I've seen used is it's a combination of what's called a private LLC company and a not-for-profit working in the same arena. So a group of 15 or 20 donors get together, they form a stock corporation. They don't intend to make a lot of money, but they're going to buy the building and preserve it. Then they find a not-for-profit group that can get grants and all kinds of other monies that any for-profit can't. So that formula is something that intrigued me and the reason that I called it. So yes, that's a very doable, and it's been duplicated around the country. We did it here in New Ulm, Minnesota, very successfully, but this was a massive old school. And so we broke off the theater and sold the other part to a housing developer. But you're on the right track, is maybe it's proactive before this gentleman feels that he can no longer operate it, is that we are proactive and we put together this group, and I'd be happy to participate too. So.
So in your scenario, was the nonprofit group the owner, or was the profit group the owner?
No, I hate to say this aloud, but I don't trust the artist with the money. I mean that in a nice way. I'm sorry if the lady in there is personal word.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. I'm talking to the right group, I think. Right. So what you do is you let the business people who bought into the stock or that paid into the LLC, they're the ones that own the building. And they make up a budget every year and they say, here's what we need in taxes, here's what we need utilities. Now, the not-for-profit group goes out and they do the Sound of Music. And then they do a children's play. They do Willy Wonka. And then they do theater classes. And then they book the events for, some teenage bands. I'm telling you, don't sell it short. There are all kinds of teenage bands that'll pay rent. Their music is terrible, but they'll pay rent. I'm telling you the truth. You know it. And they fill it up. The kids come, Anyway, and I did this at the Wheat Grand Theater. We made $800 a night every weekend when we weren't open. It was incredible. And then we kept all the concession money. So all of these possibilities are there. But yes, the for-profit owns the building and takes care of it. And then the not-for-profit, of course, will have a changeover of people that'll come and go, like all nonprofits, but there'll all be people that want to do theater or music or film or dance, all those fun stuff. But, let them raise the money and pay rent, Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're just a very small theater right now, so we'd have to have a meeting and see if anybody's interested in stepping up to do all those wonderful things.
Wait a minute. Are you the woman representing the theater company?
Yes, I am.
So do you want to move into the new theater?
I think it's scary. It's so large.
I love this lady. She's got the right idea.
Yes, I worked on Saving the Grand years ago, and we were at one point asked if we would take it over, our community theater. And we stepped back because I don't think we could even pay the taxes. And
Right.
then all of the upkeep and all that, it was too big of an outfit for us to handle.
Right.
So your idea with the LLC and some company, I think would be the only way we could do it.
We did it here just 6 years ago, the State Street Theater, small little theater company like yours in a town of New Ulm that only had 15,000. I came here for a different reason, but they ended up, we didn't have a place to go. We had a small little storefront, and then a year later, we bought this big middle school, and now they're occupying an 800-seat auditorium and doing very well. They're not, they're not scared anymore because it was a lot of business people that helped them. So let's put New London on the map like we did a lot of news.
Sounds good to me.
He's a good cheerleader.
I am. As you can tell, I'm not very enthusiastic.
I can see that.
Hans, you out there? I know this was something that you kind of started. What's your thoughts? What's your input on that?
I'm here. I was thinking to myself that the reason this became a topic of conversation was because the property was for sale. And there was some concern about there not being a buyer and what that actually meant. In other words, was there just no interest from anybody at all in owning and operating and protecting this building and this theater? And so I don't know if it's off the market now and there's an intention by the current owner to get it back up and going, and all he really needs is some support for us or from us, then maybe there is really no formal step, at least right now, that needs to be taken or offered from this committee, other than, to April's point, to spread the word and make sure that it's supported. If it turns out that that's not the case and there really is no plan for this building, then I think it is still incumbent on us in the city to try to protect this building. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. So where do you want to go? Do you guys want to chew on this for a month on what your information we gave you? We'll try to still reach out to Joel from Oshkosh, just get another point of view of type things. And
He said he loves to save grands,
Yep.
or Joe. So
well, Paul does too, sounds like.
maybe he
So.
has some ideas for how the city or this other group could work together,
Mhm.
as they did in Oshkosh.
So
Correct.
I think we keep the topic on the agenda, keep it on our radar,
See what we can do.
because it's not necessarily off the market. I just don't think he wants to list with a realtor. He's still very open to selling.
I think I would like to have a meeting with my officers and board at the theater
Mhm.
and throw this at them and see what the reaction is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Some people are, well, would rather stay small
Yep.
and in control. And some people will see it the other way, so let me see what I can get out of them.
Sure.
Right?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I
I'll
think,
bring April, she can be the cheerleader.
You've been doing this since high school.
Oh, yes.
I agree. I'd like to see this kind of stay on the burner,
Yep.
but yet there's not much to report in a month, if nothing else, every couple months, every 2 months. But when we do meet people and wonderful people kind of call us out of the blue, that's wonderful. Definitely refer them, please, to last month's economic development meeting on YouTube. Now it's pretty nice to have that feature, and this meeting will be on the city's YouTube channel.
Yep.
And they can watch it in the comfort of their own office or home, kind of get up to speed with us and same with our colleagues that aren't here tonight, other council members. But anybody you talk to, like even members of the theater troupe, encourage them to watch these YouTube discussions, with what Hans originally brought up and then our discussion. And now here we are a month later. Feel like we made some headway on this process,
Mhm.
but we definitely should revisit this if it's okay with the chairman.
We have a man who helped a great deal, one of the Labe boys from New London.
Yep.
And I couldn't have done that project without him. So, and I don't know if he's interested at all in helping now or giving us suggestions. I could
Mike did.
contact him, know his
Mike,
brother. Well, Mike was there too, but I could do that, see what they think.
Cool. So we'll put it on the agenda for next month. You guys as aldermen or you guys as committee members, just kind of talk to people out in the public, get more info and get more input, and we'll have more discussion next month.
Chad, I hope you'll forward me this nice lady's phone number and information. I'd love to talk to her about how your theater company can do this. This would be
Okay.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And I mean, with great respect, Hans, I don't want to wait until the theater is like falling apart before the city or anybody else has to come. And I know that's a dire prediction, but I've seen it happen. This may be a case where we try to be proactive and work with the owner. See if he'll accept a reasonable, an offer. Maybe he buys into the LLC units, and he gets some cash and he lives on residuals. But it's doable. It's just this may be the time. You got momentum. You got momentum, and it's open. It's going to be open.
I agree with you, Paul. We've been there once, and there's a concern that we're on that same path again.
Understood. I heard it. I heard about it. So, okay. Well, I'm available to come to New London for a lunch and a cup of, you have a glass of decent beer there, I'm sure.
We have
We can
plenty.
find one.
Oh, okay. All right. That's all. That's all I needed.
All right. Put that back on for next month and go from there. Thanks all.
See what I
Thank
can
you.
do. See you soon, John.
Thank you. All right, on number 6, discuss request to recruit an additional grocery store.
Fred, I think this one was your suggestion from last month, correct? Was this something? So I don't know if you want to start
Well-
the conversation.
People have been talking about it, other than me. And I see articles in the media, they're talking that, Pack has got what, 1, 2, 3 grocery stores. We got one. Well, then they say, well, because they got Highway 10 going through there, traffic. I'd imagine the population is what, about 6,100. But in the summer with the lakes, it's probably up to about 10,000 compared to New London, corporate city and towns, probably 10,000. So it's probably equal weight, but can New London support another store? I guess that's the discussion. In Wapaka, you've got a Pick and Save, you got a Pig, and you've got an Aldi's. And of course, you got Nemus Meat Market, but over here, we got one store. I think we should be able to support another store. I don't see why not. We did with the Pig for years with Festival. I guess that's the, in the public, if you see Facebook or other people talking to people on the street, yeah, they love to see another store. Nothing against the Converse Smiths, but that's just people's wishes, I believe.
Well, it'd be nice to get those people who don't want to shop at Festival. If they're gonna go to Appleton or something for their groceries,
Yep.
then they're not gonna do any shopping here. None.
Do you have anybody contact you about opening a store that's gonna put the money up to open it?
Nope.
That's
Well,
kind of where we got to start.
Talk all over.
We could consider here complain all day long, but if they don't wanna,
Not around all the time, Dave. I mean, it's, okay, yeah. Okay. Can you get a Century franchise?
I mean, I know as a city, we'll definitely help them any way we can if they want to open a grocery store,
Sure.
but we're not a business. We can't open it.
I know that, understand that.
Can I have a second here? I
Go
did
for it,
reach out to, I did reach out to Century, and received nothing back from Century. Both the Century owner and corporate itself, because I thought maybe the Century in Hortonville might be interested in expanding to another surrounding community, and I got nothing back there either.
Well, they
I
would be-
also reached out to several others and received nothing back. The only one that I did get anything back from indefinitely is Aldi's, and he was pretty short and sweet, right to the point that they are not interested in New London at this time.
I work in Clintonville and Hortonville more so than I do in New London. And, you know, I was just over there to Gilbert's today. It's a beautiful, beautiful new Century store. It's a wonderful place. Stop in there every time I'm in town. And, you know, it'd be hard to justify investing something when it's really 5.7 miles away. And I like to take M because I like to check out the river on County Highway M. But same with Clintonville, you know, they run a really good store up there, and it's really, honestly, on a good day, clear roads, I'm to work in 15 minutes. And it's just a beautiful drive. Take County Highway D. So it's hard to get somebody like that to say, hey, put up a couple $1 million, 5.7 miles or 12 miles down the road. But it's not that there isn't competition very nearby out there. And I do really appreciate having Festival Foods here locally too. We shop at all three. So it's going to be tough. You know, I mean, I've had a few people come up to me on the street, like you too, Fred. And I guess I tell them what I know of the business, and that's just my career. I've handled a lot of grocery things in my life.
And Century's a franchise company, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first ones put the money up for franchise.
I'd like to add that City of New London's ready to work. I mean, we're ready to bring them in.
Sure.
You get somebody that wants to start digging a hole in the ground to build a new store, Chad and I are willing to talk.
Any store.
Any store, yeah.
Or
And
business. I mean, anything for that fact.
And I think the mayor knows firsthand that this last week, when the bypass is built, that's going to change a lot of dynamics, probably for the good. As far as
You're right, yeah.
making commuters' lives easier and safer. And we may actually see some people driving from Appleton to come here and shop just for the overall experience. They might want some culture and some outdoor stuff. They might, who knows, you know, we're going to see that dynamic change in 3 to 5 years when that bypass is all done.
So I think a talking point, if people are saying, what's the city done doing. I mean, there has been some outreach. Obviously during COVID, that's a tough time for a new business to be looking at relocating. Building prices right now are crazy, as everyone knows. So, but like the mayor said, we're open. We're going to sit here and open everyone with open arms. So if there's someone out there that's interested in coming our way, we'll work with them 100%. But there has been some outreach, so it's just and we'll if there's hints, if there's leads, obviously we'll take those. Kind of go from there.
Is there anything that we can do from a marketing approach to share with the mayor, to convey the message that the mayor was just saying? We're looking for business, we're ready to talk. Kind of what Casey was talking about, his social media plan.
Yep. Not specific to a general grocery store, but Casey and I are talking about, there's actually, and I'm not going to get the cat out of the bag, but we've got 2 businesses that we're going to be reaching out to and targeting to create videos to show why New London's open for business. And it's not to highlight the business, it's to highlight why they are having business in New London. So we've got Casey's reaching out to 2 individuals, 2 business owners. And like I said, I don't want to scare them away and say we're coming after them. So I'm not going to say who they are right now, but we're working on it. And that's something that Casey we just talked about it today. So that's going to be kind of our business series start off with. So I hope that's what you're asking for and looking for right there. So, yeah. And you probably know who.
I have an idea.
Yep.
And Chad and I talk about this all the time. I mean, I'm throwing ideas at him. He's throwing ideas at me, and we're reaching out, and it's one roadblock after another. And then there's some other companies and businesses that really want to come to New London, and it doesn't happen for one reason or another. So it's a daily thing that we do discuss.
Yep. There's also some major developments ready to turn shovel here in New London, and I'm sure Casey will be there reporting on that progress as they build, including one place in the industrial park. And we have a lot of growth going on.
And to kind of shift the conversation a little bit, I've had, a handful of people ask about existing buildings in town for manufacturing or industrial, and there's not a lot available for that. There's a little bit, but there's not a lot available right there. So trying to find some homes for some people in the manufacturing side of things, it's going to be a challenge right now, which is a good problem to have. That means their manufacturing is full, but and some of these have been specific. They have specific needs. They're not looking at building new. They wanted to go into something existing and just not finding the right spot for them yet. So, but we're working on that too.
All right, moving on to updates and reports, business updates, April.
All right, so a large portion of my updates are going to revolve around Mr. Jose Huerta. He's a very, very busy man. He is the pastor for the Iglesia Church. So the first update is a new commercial vacancy purchase, 606 West Wolf River Ave, which is the former laundromat that's probably sat vacant for 20 years, if I had to guess. Pastor Jose has purchased that building, and he plans to renovate it and use it for the teen population for the church, and also run a summer school through there. There's also a parcel that's west of the church. It's kitty corner from First State Bank. He's in the process of purchasing that. You can see development has already started, but that will be a parking lot for the church. Jose is also inquiring about the vacant lot at 225 West North Water Street. That's the grassy lot next to Lynn Tank. He's been talking with that owner. He is having a hard time renting out his office space, right? Kind of kitty corner from that lot because of parking. And he really wants to get more parking downtown. So he has set up a meeting with Chad and I to discuss some details on how we can make that happen. a business remodel update. I reported on this before, but I just wanted to let the committee know. Malarkey's old building, 421 South Pearl Street, was purchased by Jeff Burgum, the Cornerstone Insurance guy who is currently behind Subway right now. When I was doing those surveys, handing out those surveys, I actually caught Jeff. So he gave me a tour of the building and he has done some huge updates in that building. And I can't wait for the entire community to see it. He's gonna have an insurance office in the front and he's also a car collector. So the back end of the building will have a car collection in there. We're gonna have a ribbon cutting for him this summer. So I hope everybody can attend and see all the hard work and energy and time and money that he has put into that place. It's absolutely beautiful. And last, I'd like to invite everybody to a ribbon cutting to Cozy and Sweet Candy Pop-Up Shop. This is our, she was a junior, right? And she's a sophomore now.
Yes.
So she just graduated her junior year, going to be a sophomore. We have a ribbon cutting for Elena, June 15th at noon. So she's located on Pearl Street right next to the pantry. So please come out and support her now that she is out of school. Her summer hours are going to expand.
Thank you. City Administrator report.
Okay, so, and I'm gonna steal your thunder there, April, for a second. April and I met with Scott Dufresne, was it 2 Fridays ago at Tuffy Boats? I think it was 2 Fridays ago. So Scott gave us a tour at Tuffy Boats. He's gonna go
Really
somewhere.
cool.
We were so pumped up after that tour.
We have no idea what New London has like
Wow.
that. Wow.
Yeah, if he's talking big,
I made him
so,
promise me that he will never leave New London.
so the process, I mean, and I had staff here that didn't even realize that Tuffy Boats were made in New London. And we were talking to him, and I'm not gonna divulge the name, but he was like, no, those aren't made in New London. And we went over there and he was like, couldn't believe that the boats were made in New London. So the entire process of that boat building process is in that shop. They get all the, electronics and all the motors and stuff like that, but everything else. And they popped the boat out. So we saw a boat being born that day when we were there. And he has plans for expansion, for tours in the future. Really cool. So we'll be helping him out as best we can. Everything for him is custom. So it's a custom ordered boat. It's not like he puts them in showrooms and sells them, but he does want to have a showroom in the future to kind of show things off. So kudos. We hope that we can work with him and expand his business.
Chad, I'd also like to point out that he treats his employees very well and pays them a very decent wage.
He was one that made the point. He puts a sign out and he gets people from the valley and everybody come. He has no problem getting employees. So he must be doing very well there by far. And yeah, and he doesn't do any advertising either. His advertising is word
His
of mouth.
website's not even up to date.
Yeah.
All my life, I always thought a boat was spray painted, like painted,
Yeah.
but it's literally, they pour the color into the mold and then it's literally popped out that color.
Then the
My whole
fiber-
life was a lie. I had no idea that's how a boat's made.
So really cool.
That's how it works on a fiberglass boat anyway.
We'll be working with them for expansion in the future. Midwest Properties, they did break ground in the Northeast Industrial Park. That was the firm that just brought the developer that just bought that parcel on the northeast side of the industrial park. So sounds like they're breaking ground. They've got their building permits in and they're going to start going pretty soon. He's also commented that the construction products and materials are getting hard to get. So I'm not sure when they're going to be up and running, but they're working on it. I've had a couple of people, I alluded to that before, people interested in getting into existing properties. And I also had I just had a call. The guy was kind of stayed anonymous, but he expressed interest in our business park. So hopefully he turns around and comes back, and that's for an existing business trying to expand. I don't know where he's from or what, but hopefully we can encourage him to come back and get something in there. And then if any of you guys look at the Planning Commission agenda this Thursday, we're going through the process, and it's a lengthy process to rezone and update the city's comp plan land use map to allow residential developments. Those are the SCS and Randy Retzloff developments on Beckert Road in Oshkosh, and then House Road and Highway S. So we're going through that very lengthy process and hoops to jump through to rezone those properties for residential developments there. So that's what I got for this city administrator report.
Thanks, Chad. And review potential agenda items for future meetings.
Emily Kling is ready for next month, I believe, right?
Correct.
So Emily will actually bring that off the number 8 and actually throw that into an agenda item in the future or at the next meeting. And then we'll also obviously talking about the Grand Theater, continue that discussion. And I'm sure something else will pop up. Bill, do you have any contact with that gentleman that you had?
He's
Is he-
with sports. He's in doing sports coaching right now.
Okay.
With them being gone.
Maybe target August if they're done with sports at that point in time.
Sure.
See if you can do an August thing. That'd be maybe a good filler for that
I'd
point
be
in time.
glad to.
Okay.
All
That's
right,
it.
moving on to public comment.
That's the only thing I got is grocery store, Mark and Chet. They need a new building, do you think? Would it have to be brand new? Or could the pick?
It depends on who wants to develop it. I mean, whatever their budget fits, we're just here willing to work in any angle that we can offer.
And I don't know how that Piggly Wiggly was set up, but it's too bad it got gutted out. And now the last I heard, and I told April about this, there's another business in London that needs to expand more than manufacturing space. They're looking at purchasing that for storage because it has loading docks and stuff in the back. I think that building to the south, that gentleman's been in contact with me. He would sell it, but it seems like an awful price on it for what he wants for what it is. So it's the thought process there.
We're looking at that one too.
Is that building
We're looking at that one too, possibly.
back, you don't have much, I mean, of existing buildings.
Right.
if you
It'd be,
close
it'd be about development.
And I don't know, I mean, in our past market, it was more economic to build new than it was to remodel. And now today's market might be cheaper to remodel than it is to build new, so.
Sure. That might be the way for a while.
Good point.
Could we just go back to potential speakers? I completely forgot. Jeff Burgum, owner of Cornerstone Insurance, was talking about his building that he just remodeled was vandalized. Some kids broke out the window and the kid was caught, cited. When he talked with the kid and the parent, he said, he felt it was part of his responsibility why that window was broken, because he felt that there wasn't enough for teens to do around here. So he has some big plans about some things that he wants to do to drive tourism and economic development in the area. And I said, you should really come to our committee and share some of your thoughts. So if that's an option too, I think we should just put him on the docket. Like he's talking dirt bike tracks and go-karts and different things in the area. He's also talking about just purchasing different commercial buildings downtown to lease them out to start to fill our vacancies quicker. So.
And I don't know if you guys have looked at the Park and Rec Committee agenda, but the Parks and Rec Committee has been talking about encouraging some type of mountain bike park. There's conversation with that. Nothing's been defined yet, but there's conversation with that going on
Maybe
as well.
that's a committee he should go to then.
Yep. That won't be a dirt bike. It won't be a motorized. It would be a mountain bike situation.
Okay.
I wonder if it'd be a good idea to set that gentleman up with the young guy that was heading up the BMX trail.
At least have them talk.
Let's kind of get them two
Connect
together.
them?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know who that is, but I would be happy to.
I have that.
I also know that Eb from John's Bar, he used to help with, there's a racetrack up in Clintonville where the kids would go up there to do.
Racing for education.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So I might want to look into something like that too.
A few years ago, there was a couple that wanted to bring a go-kart track into town, but there just was, it wasn't the spot for it. It was right next to what's now filling up as a subdivision, it would have been.
Okay.
You kind of got to be out in sticks for certain tracks like that, but Jeff has a lot more ideas beyond just the bicycle thing, be worth hearing him. I don't know if he's aware of the library
Yep. Yeah.
plan next
He's
door.
full aware of it. And he's excited about the growth that he sees in New London and he wants to be a part of it. So.
I would invite him to a future meeting, but it's up to the chairman.
Yep.
All right, review the next meeting date.
See, the next regularly scheduled meeting date, the last Tuesday would be June 29th. Any problems with that? Otherwise, we'll go with that, June 29th.
To adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed,
I didn't mean to get ahead of you, David.
adjourned. You always are.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Hans.
You call me Fast Freddy.